the man with no name and 1,000 faces. He walks into the frame, squinting beneath the blinding sun. A cigar burns at the corner of his mouth. Silence fills the air. Then a single line, "Go ahead, make my day." To millions, that line defines Clint Eastwood, the eternal cowboy, the unflinching cop, the myth carved into American cinema. But behind the cool stare lies a man no one truly knew, a man who challenged every rule Hollywood ever wrote, who went from a B-movie extra to a living legend, a director, actor, and symbol of American masculinity and rebellion. This is the story of Clint Eastwood, how he became the last outlaw of Hollywood, and why, even in his 90s, he still refuses to ride off into the sunset. Part 1. The Drifter Begins, 1930s to 1950s. Clint Eastwood Jr. was born in 1930 in San Francisco, at the height of the Great Depression. His family moved constantly, chasing work from town to town. Those restless years shaped the quiet resilience that would define him forever. He was tall, lean, and not particularly good at school. Teachers said he had no focus. Friends described him as distant. But beneath that silence, Clint was absorbing every detail around him. After high school, he worked odd jobs: lumberjack, lifeguard, steelworker. In 1951, he was drafted into the U.S. Army and stationed at Fort Ord. There, by sheer chance, he met aspiring actors and found himself fascinated by performance. When he left the service, he moved to Los Angeles with no plan, only a face Hollywood couldn't ignore. He took acting lessons, auditioned endlessly, and was rejected just as often. Yet his stoic charm, that silent confidence, caught the attention of Universal Studios. His first roles were small, forgettable, but the fire had started. Part 2, Rawhide and the First Taste of Fame, 1959 to 1965. Television was exploding in the late 50s, and Clint landed a role that would change his life: Rowdy Yates on Rawhide. For 8 years, Eastwood rode through America's living rooms every week. The loyal cowboy, rough around the edges, but unmistakably magnetic. But he hated it. The endless shooting schedules, the formulaic plots, it bored him to death. He wanted something deeper, something cinematic. And then came a phone call from Italy. Director Sergio Leone was looking for an American actor, someone unknown, cheap, and with the right kind of stare. The role? A mysterious gunslinger with no name. Clint packed his bags and flew to Europe. What he didn't know was that a fistful of dollars would not only redefine his career, it would change the history of cinema. Part 3. The Birth of a Western Myth, 1964 to 1971. The spaghetti western was born, and Clint Eastwood was its face. With a fistful of dollars, for a few dollars more, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, he became the embodiment of the anti-hero. Dirty, silent, morally gray, everything Hollywood's clean-cut cowboys weren't. Those films turned him into an international sensation. The poncho, the hat, the squint, icons of cool. And yet, even as the world fell in love with the man with no name, Clint himself remained detached. "That wasn't me," he once said. "It was just a mask." But that mask gave him the freedom to experiment. While others chased fame, Clint studied Leone's direction, lighting, and tension, preparing himself to one day step behind the camera. The Italian trilogy taught him how silence could say more than dialogue, a lesson he would carry throughout his directing career. When he returned to America, the Western was dying, but Clint wasn't done yet. He was ready to reinvent himself again. Part 4, Dirty Harry and the American Shadow, 1971 to 1979. In 1971, Clint Eastwood took on a role that would define a generation, Inspector Harry Callahan. Dirty Harry was controversial, violent, unapologetic, and America couldn't look away. The film tapped into the chaos of the 1970s, rising crime, political distrust, urban decay. Do You Feel Lucky, Punk? Became not just a quote, but a cultural moment. Critics called him fascist. Audiences called him a hero. And Clint? He just called it honesty. He directed his first film the same year, Play Misty for Me, a dark psychological thriller that proved he wasn't just an actor. He had vision. By the end of the decade, Eastwood was more than a movie star. He was an institution. Behind the camera, he was quiet but commanding. He preferred single takes, minimal dialogue, and realism over spectacle. He learned that simplicity, not excess, was his greatest weapon. And from that point, he decided to direct almost everything he starred in. Part 5. The Director Emerges, 1980 to 1992. The 80s saw Clint embrace his power behind the camera. Films like Bronco Billy, Honky Tonk Man, and Pale Rider revealed a softer side. Meditations on aging, regret, and redemption. He wasn't chasing box office glory anymore. He was searching for meaning. Then came Unforgiven in 1992, a masterpiece. An old gunslinger haunted by violence confronting his past one last time. It was Clint's own reckoning, a Western about the death of Westerns. The film won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. For many, this was supposed to be his farewell, but Eastwood wasn't done rewriting the rules. During this period, he also experimented with music and tone, composing scores for his own films, something few directors dared to do. The introspective melodies of Unforgiven and Bird carried his emotions far more deeply than words ever could. Part 6, Reinvention, The Elder Statesman, 1993 to 2008. In his 60s and 70s, when most actors fade, Eastwood only grew sharper. He directed Mystic River, a dark human tragedy, $1 Million Baby, an emotional knockout that earned him 2 more Oscars. He became the rarest thing in Hollywood, a filmmaker whose age added power. Then came Gran Torino, an old man, alone, bitter, facing a world he no longer recognized. It was Eastwood channeling his entire life, the violence, the loss, the stubborn pride, into one character. For many, it felt like his final statement. But Clint doesn't do final even letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers. 2 war films told from opposite sides showed his empathy and curiosity. He no longer cared about sides. He cared about the truth. His storytelling matured into something rare, emotional simplicity, layered with moral depth. Part 7, The Last American Outlaw, 2009 to 2018. Even in his late 80s, Eastwood kept creating. He directed American Sniper, Sully, and The Mule, films that wrestled with modern heroism, morality, and mortality. His pacing slowed, his stories deepened. He wasn't chasing youth. He was studying the cost of survival. He became a mentor to younger filmmakers, a symbol of creative independence. He didn't need Hollywood's permission anymore and never really had it. In interviews, he spoke about time, not as something lost, but as something earned. Each film became a meditation on legacy, courage, and imperfection. His aging face on screen told stories words could not. By now, Clint Eastwood was no longer a cowboy or a cop. He was a philosopher in a director's chair, reflecting on what it means to live long enough to outlast your own legend. Part 8, Legacy of the Quiet Storm, 2019 to present. In his 90s, Clint Eastwood still walks onto set with that same unshakable focus. When asked why he keeps working, he simply replies, "I don't let the old man in." From Cry Macho to Richard Jewell, he continues to explore what it means to be human, fragile, and fierce. He's outlived every one of his contemporaries, outlasted trends, critics, and time itself. He is the last gunslinger, not because he shoots, but because he never surrenders. And yet, in his quiet moments, Eastwood admits that he's not chasing immortality. He's chasing truth, the kind that hides between silence and shadow. In that pursuit, he found peace, and perhaps the truest form of art. Clint Eastwood never chased immortality. He earned it by never looking back. He made Hollywood confront its myths and built new ones in their place. Today, as he stands at the edge of a century, his story isn't one of fame, but of endurance, of a man who turned silence into language, rebellion into legacy. The cowboy rides off again, but this time, maybe, just maybe, he's found peace in the horizon. This has been Bio Vault. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of the icons who shaped our world.